Hello, Shalom. Welcome to day 136 of the Daily Bread. We'll be reading from the Scriptures 2009 version. We'll be reading out of Numbers chapter 31, 2 Kings chapter 21, Psalms 132, Proverbs 16, and Romans chapter 5. Numbers chapter 31 on page 176. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Take vengeance for the children of Israel on the Midianites. After that you are to be gathered to your people. And Moshe spoke to the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves for the campaign, and let them go against the Midianites, to take vengeance of Yahweh on Midian. Send 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel for the campaign. So they were supplied from the tribes of Israel, 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed ones for the campaign. And Moshe sent them on the campaign, 1,000 each tribe, them and Phinehas son of Eleazar the priest on the campaign, with the set apart utensils and the trumpets for sounding in his hand. And they fought against the Midians, as Yahweh commanded Moshe, and killed all the males. And they killed the sovereigns of Midian, with the rest of those who were pierced, Ewi, Remim, Shishur, and Hur, and Reba, the 5 sovereigns of Midian. And they killed Bileam, son of Behor, with the sword. And the sons of Israel took all the women of Midian captive, with their little ones, and took as spoil all their livestock and all their possessions. And they burned with fire all the cities where they dwelt, and all their settlements. And they took all the spoil and all the booty, both of man and beast. And they brought the captives and the booty and the spoil to Moshe, and to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the children of Israel, to the camp in the desert plain of Moab. In the desert plains of Moab by the Jordan of Jericho. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest and all the elders of the congregation went to meet them outside the camp. But Moshe was wroth with the officers of the army, and with the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds who had come from the campaign. And Moshe said to them, Have you kept all the women alive? Look, they are the ones who caused the children of Israel through the word of Bileam to trespass against Yahweh in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of Yahweh. And now every male among the little ones, and every woman who has known a man by lying with a man, you shall kill. But keep alive for yourselves all the female children who have not known a man by lying with a man. And you camp outside the camp 7 days. Whoever has killed any being, and whoever has touched any slain, cleanse yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And cleanse every garment, and every object of leather, and all the work of goat's hair, and every object of wood. And Eleazar the priest said to the men of the campaign who went to the battle, This is the law of the Torah which Yahweh commanded Moshe. Only the gold and the silver and the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, every object that passes through fire, you put through the fire, and it shall be clean. Only let it be cleansed with the water of uncleanness. And whatever does not pass through fire, you pass through water. It's the two ways we clean things, biblically: fire and water. And you shall wash your garments on the seventh day and be cleaned, and afterwards come into the camp. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, count up the plunder that was taken of man and of beast, you and Eleazar the priest, and the heads of the fathers of the congregation. And you shall divide the plunder into 2 parts, between those who took part in the battle, who went out on the campaign, and all the congregation, and set aside a levy for Yahweh on the men of battle who went out on the campaign. 1 out of every 500 of man, and of the cattle, and of the donkeys, and of the sheep. Take it from their half, and give it to Eleazar the priest as a contribution to Yahweh. And from the children of Israel's half, you shall take 1 of every 50 of the man, of the cattle, of the donkey, and of the sheep, and of all the livestock, and give them to the Levites, guarding the duty of the dwelling place of Yahweh. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest did as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And the booty remained from the plunder, which the people of the campaign had taken, 675,000 sheep, and 72,000 cattle, and 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 human beings in all, of women who had not known a man by lying with a man. And the portion of those who went out on the campaign was a number of 337,500 sheep. And the levy unto Yahweh of the sheep was 675. And the cattle were 36,000, of which the levy unto Yahweh was 72. And the donkeys were 30,500, of which the levy unto Yahweh was 61. And the human beings were 16,000, and of the levy unto Yahweh was 32 beings. So Moshe gave the levy, which was the contribution unto Yahweh, to Eleazar the priest, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And from the children of Israel's half, which Moshe divided from the men who campaigned, now the half belonging to the congregation, was 337,500 sheep, and 36,000 cattle, and 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 human beings. That Moshe took from the children of Israel's half 1 out of 50 drawn from man and beast, and gave them to the Levites, who guarded the duty of the dwelling place of Yahweh, as Yahweh commanded Moshe. And the officers who were over thousands of the campaign, the commanders of thousands, the commanders of hundreds, came near to Moshe. And they said to Moshe, your servants have taken account of the fighting men under our command, and not a man of us is missing. So we have brought an offering to Yahweh, what every man found of ornaments of gold, ornaments, bracelets, signet, rings, earrings, necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before Yahweh. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from them, all the fashion ornaments, and all the gold of the offering that they presented to Yahweh from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, 16,750 shekels. The men of the campaign had taken spoil, every man for himself. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of appointment as a remembrance for the children of Israel before Yahweh. On to 2 Kings chapter 21 on page 407. And Manish was 12 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 55 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hepasiah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, according to the abominations of the nations whom Yahweh disposed before the children of Israel. For he turned and built the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed, and raised up slaughter places for Baal, and made an Asher, as Ahab sovereign of Israel had done, and he bowed himself to all the hosts of the heavens and served them. And he built slaughter places in the house of Yahweh, of which Yahweh had said, In Jerusalem I put my name. And he built slaughter places for all the hosts of the heavens, in the two courtyards of Yahweh, the house of Yahweh. And he made his son pass through the fire, and practiced magic, and used divination, and counseled spiritists and mediums. He did much evil in the eyes of Yahweh, to provoke him. And he placed a carved image of Asher that he made in the house, of which Yahweh had said to David and to Solomon his son, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, I put my name forever. And no more shall I cause the feet of Israel to move from the soil which I gave their fathers, only if they guard to do according to all I had commanded them, and according to all the Torah that my servant Moshe commanded them. But they did not obey, and Manish led them astray to do more evil than the nations whom Yahweh had destroyed before the children of Israel. And Yahweh spoke by his servants the prophets, saying, Because Manish, sovereign of Judah, has done these abominations, having done more evil than all the Amorites who were before him, and also made Judah sin with his idols. Therefore, thus said Yahweh Elohim of Israel, See, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that both ears of those who hear of it shall tingle. And I shall stretch over Jerusalem the measuring line of Samaria, and plummet on the house of Ahab, and shall wipe Jerusalem as one wipes a dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. And I shall forsake the remnant of my inheritance, and give them into the hand of their enemies. And they shall be for a prey and for plunder to all their enemies, because they have done evil in my eyes, and have provoked me since the day their fathers came out of Mizraim, even to this day. And also Manish shed very much innocent blood until he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, besides his sin with which he made Judah sin, in doing evil in the eyes of Yahweh. And the rest of the acts of Manish, and all that he did, and the sins that he had committed, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Judah? So Manish slept with his fathers, and was buried in the garden of his own house, in the garden of Uzzah, and his son Amon reigned in his place. And Amon was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 2 years in Jerusalem. And the name of his mother was Mishalometh, the daughter of Peratz of Johath. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, as his father Manish had done, and walked in all the ways that his father had walked, and served the idols that his father had served, and bowed himself to them, and forsook Yahweh Elohim of his fathers, and did not walk in the way of Yahweh. And the servants of Ammon conspired against him, and killed the sovereign in his own house. And the people of the land struck all those who had conspired against sovereign Ammon. And the people of the land set up his son Jehoash to reign in his place. And the rest of the acts of Ammon which he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns? And he was buried in his burial place in the garden of Uzzah, and his son Jehoash reigned in his place. Psalms 132 on page 732. O Yahweh, 722, sorry. O Yahweh, remember David, all his afflictions, how he swore to Yahweh, vowed to the mighty one of Jacob, not to enter into my dwelling house, not to get into my bed, not to give sleep to my eyes, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find a place for Yahweh, dwelling places for the mighty one of Jacob. See, we heard of it in Ephrath. We found it in the fields of the forest. Let us go into his dwelling places. Let us bow ourselves at his footstool. Arise, O Yahweh, to your place of rest, you and the ark of your strength. Let your priests put on righteousness, and your loving committed ones shout for joy. For the sake of your servant David, do not turn away the face of your anointed one. Yahweh has sworn in truth to David. He does not turn from it. Of the fruit of your body I set upon your throne. If your sons guard my covenant and my witnesses that I teach them, their sons shall sit upon your throne forever. For Yahweh has chosen Zion. He has desired it for his dwelling. This is my place, a rest forever. Here I dwell, for I have desired it. I greatly bless her provision. I satisfy her poor with bread, and I put deliverance on her priests, and her loving committed ones sing for joy. There I make the horn of David grow. I shall set up a lamp for my anointed one. I put shame on his enemies, while on him his diadem shall shine. Proverbs 16 on page 743. The man belongs to the preparations of the heart, but from Yahweh is the answer of the tongue. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits. Commit your works to Yahweh, and your plan shall be established. Yahweh has made all for his purpose, and has also the wrong for the day of evil. Everyone proud in heart is an abomination to Yahweh. Hand to hand he goes not unpunished. By loving commitment and truth, crookedness is pardoned, and in the fear of Yahweh one turns away from evil. When a man's ways please Yahweh, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Better is a little with righteousness than a large income without right ruling. A man's heart plans his way, but Yahweh establishes his steps. An oath is on the lips of the sovereigns. In right ruling his mouth trespasses not. A right scale and balances are of Yahweh. All the weights are in the bag are All the weights in the bag are his work. It is an abomination for sovereigns to commit wrongness, for a throne is established by righteousness. Righteous lips are the delight of sovereigns, and they love him who speaks what is straight. The sovereign's wrath is a messenger of death, but a wise man appeases it. In the light of a sovereign's face is life, and his delight is like a cloud of the latter rain. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold? To get understanding is preferable to silver. The highway of the straight is to turn away from evil. He who guards his life watches over his way. Before destruction comes pride, and before a fall a haughty spirit. Better to be lowly in spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud. He who acts wisely concerning the word finds good, and blessed is he who trusts in Yahweh. The wise-hearted is called discerning, and sweetness of lips increases learning. Understanding is a fountain of life to him who has it, but the discerning of fools is folly. The heart of the wise gives discretion to his mouth, and he increases learning to his lips. Pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweet to the being and healing to the bones. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. He who labors for himself, for a man drives him on, for his mouth drives him on. A Menabilia plots evil, and on his lips is like a burning fire. A perverse man sends forth strife, and a whisper separates intimate friends. A ruthless man entices his neighbor, and leads him in the way that is not good. Winking with his eye to plot perversity, moving his lips, he shall bring about evil. Gray hair is a crown of adoring. It is found in the way of righteousness. He who is patient is better than the mighty. He who rules over his spirit than he who takes the city. A lot is cast into the lap, but every decision is by Yahweh. Every decision by it is from Yahweh. Romans chapter 5 on page 1094. Therefore, having been declared right by belief, we have peace with Elohim through our Master Yeshua Messiah, through whom also we have access by belief into this favor in which we stand. And we exalt in the expectation of the esteem of Elohim. And not only this, but we also exalt in pressures, knowing that pressure works endurance, and endurance approvedness, and approvedness expectation. And expectation does not disappoint, because the love of Elohim has been poured out in our hearts by the set-apart Spirit, which was given to us. And when we were, verse 6, for when we were still weak, Messiah in due time died for the wicked. For one shall hardly die for a righteous one, though possibly for a good one someone would even have the courage to die. But Elohim proves his love, his own love for us, in that while we were still sinners, Messiah died for us. Much more than having not been declared right by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. For if being enemies we were restored to favor blessing with Elohim, through the death of his Son, much more having been restored to favor, we shall be saved by his life. Not only this, but also exalt in Elohim through our Master Yeshua Messiah, though we have now received the restoration of favor to favor. For this reason, even as though one man's sin did enter into the world, and death through sin, and thus death spread to all men, because all sinned. For until the Torah, sin was in the world, but sin is not reckoned when there is no Torah. But death reigned from Adam until Moshe, even over those who had not sinned, according to the likeness of the transgression of Adam, who is a type of him who has to come. But the favorable gift is not like the trespass. For if by the one man's trespass many died, much more the favor of Elohim, and the gift in favor of one man. And the gift in favor of one man, Yeshua Messiah, overflowed to many. And the favorable gift is not as by one having sinned. For indeed the judgment was of one to condemnation, but the favorable gifts is of many trespasses unto righteousness. For if by the trespass of the one death did reign through the one, much more those who received the overflowing favor and the gift of righteousness shall reign in the life through the one Yeshua Messiah. So when, as though one trespass, there resulted condemnation to all men, so also through one righteous act there resulted righteousness, declaring of life to all men. For as though the disobedience of one man many were made sinners, so also through the obedience of the one many shall be made righteous. And the Torah came in besides, so that the trespass would increase. But where sin increased, favor increased still more, so that as sin did reign in heaven, even so favor might reign through righteousness to everlasting life through Yeshua Messiah, our Master. Shalom. Make it a great day. Read your Bible and talk to the Father.